While most forms of art exist to be passively observed, video games are meant to be lived in and actively experienced. Games are also defined by their constraints, built on frameworks that live or die by the technology available at the moment of their creation. So how can we declare a game to be the greatest of all time with constantly shifting expectations? And I do mean other than looking at the top 10 list from GameFAQs and saying Chrono Trigger because it's listed twice. In my opinion, there are dozens of games which have a legitimate claim to being called the greatest of all time. While I can't give you a singular answer, I can certainly make the case. Hollow Knight shouldn't be as good as it is. The game was born from the minds of just two people, Australians no less, who initially developed the concept for an indie game jam. William Pellin and Ari Gibson morphed that initial demo, titled Hungry Knight, into a game that is near universally loved by fans and critics alike. And Hollow Knight isn't some cute, bite-sized indie game. It is massive, complex, and polished to a mirror sheen. Team Cherry puts major studios to shame when it comes to the quality of their product. I believe Hollow Knight is on a short list of games that have a legitimate claim to being the greatest of all time. To make that case, I will build the foundation for my argument on 5 pillars. Each pillar will be presented from weakest to strongest, in my opinion, so we'll be leaving the best for last. But first, some honorable mentions. Honorable mention 1, story. Real talk, I had no clue what was going on in Hollow Knight's story until I played through the game twice. And even then, I learned most of what I know today from external sources like YouTube videos and random dweebs on Reddit, with all peace and love. The game is so fun and has so much quality dripping from every corner that the depth and breadth of the underlying story really is a luxury. That being said, the underlying lore and active story elements from Hollow Knight lend a sense of justification to the beauty and sorrow hidden behind every corner of the map. I'm a simple man, so I rely on Mr. Mushroom for my lore. Worms pull bugs into their thrall, till ages pass and kingdoms fall. Caps and shells may fall to dust, but Mr. Mushroom readjusts. And of course, Hornet, so strong. You could do it if you had the will. But could you raise your nail once, knowing its tragic conception, and knowing yourself? Then do it, Ghost of Hallownest. Head onward. Burn that mark upon your shell and claim yourself as king. Honorable mention 2, free DLC content. When I was researching for this section, I was genuinely blown away by how much content has been added to the vanilla version of Hollow Knight. And to be super clear, all of Hollow Knight's DLC is 100% free for anyone who owns any version of the game. Hollow Knight has 4 major DLCs. Hidden Dreams, which added the Hidden Station, the White Defender, and Grey Prince Zote. The Grim Troop, which added 5 NPCs, 8 charms, Grim, Nightmare King Grim, and the Path of Pain. Lifeblood, a more minor release, which added the Hive Knight and map markers, and Godmaster, which adds quintessential endgame content in the form of the Pantheon of Hallownest, on top of 7 new bosses, 3 new areas, and much more. In a climate where some of the biggest issues in the gaming industry revolve around publisher greed, i.e. microtransactions, battle passes, and other games as a service bleed the player base dry types of business practices, Hollow Knight said, here's some more of the dopest shit on earth, and you can have it for free, big dog, no worries. Oh, and that Hornet as a playable character Kickstarter? Just have another one of the greatest games of all time for that, but more on that in another video. Fun fact, I mistyped the word Hornet as horny in the script and didn't notice for about 2 days. Accident or Freudian slip, only time will tell. Pillar 1, movement. Confession time. When I first played Metroid, and I do mean the Metroid, I bounced off of it. I was probably 16 or so, and I had already moved on to the expectations of someone who had experienced the mind-blowing graphics and gameplay of the Aquaman GameCube game. Maybe 10 or 15 years later, I gave it another try, and I absolutely loved it. Metroidvanias may not be my preferred game design choice, but it finally clicked with me there. The movement and the exploration are the game. When I picked up Hollow Knight, I had no such hesitation. Even in the beginning sections when you were just a little dude with a jump and a slash, the movement just feels so clean and rewarding. Then you get the dash, and you're like, damn son, I'm the fastest boy alive, and I can traverse those impossible chasms. Bosses start to feel more like a fast-paced dance than a slower-paced affair where it's my turn, then your turn, then my turn. There's no way it can get any sicker than this. Then you get the Mantis Claw, and you say, okay, now I can go anywhere. Gravity is fake, and I believe in the flat earth now. New areas unlock, and these movement puzzles with thorns and spikes show up and integrate seamlessly into the world's traversal. Then you realize you can pogo, and most objects in the game suddenly become a playground. You can pogo spikes, you can pogo signs, you can pogo enemies, and you can say this. Then you get Desolate Dive, and you say, FBI, open up! Then you get Crystal Dash, and you say, then you get the Monarch Wings, and you can say, there are so many satisfying ways to tackle the game, but no matter how you approach it, the fact that you can go from this to this is absolutely insane. And again, those are just visual examples of using movement in combat. The core of the game, at least for a casual player, is moving through Hallownest's beautiful and terrifying world. And while that world would stand up on its own, the slickness and smoothness and the hotness of the movement leaves no moment as a dull one. On a more serious note, Hollow Knight's movement focuses on precision, player control, and a philosophy of immediate response. There's not that sense of inertia and weightiness that works for a game like the original Dark Souls. There is no excuse for a buffered input or your weight carrying you off the ledge in Hollow Knight. It's all on you, and the controls genuinely feel like a natural extension of your inputs. Hollow Knight in turn demands a lot from the player, and in response, it offers the player airtight controls and an unbelievably diverse toolkit with which to travel the world. And if you don't believe me, just consider trying to navigate the path of pain if the game wasn't so perfectly tuned. I mean, I don't want to consider it even with how perfectly tuned the game actually is, but you get the point. Pillar 2, Art Direction and Atmosphere. What is a king without a kingdom? What is a stage without a player? What is a Burger King all-new Whopper Deluxe patty without a Burger King all-new Whopper Deluxe bun with sesame seeds? And what is Hollow Knight's otherworldly movement without a gorgeous world in which to move? The art direction of Hollow Knight doesn't start with an overt Breath of the Wild coming out of Plato's cave to see the bright blue sky moment. It instead starts with a melancholic introduction to a dying world. Then it builds on that atmosphere with the gorgeous, lush worlds of Greenpath, the pink, glowing edges of Crystal Peak, the choking oppression of Deep Nest, which literally makes me itchy when I play it, and the still-breathing capital, City of Tears. Hollow Knight does not rely on a dark, gray palette to smash us over the head with a sledgehammer and say, hey, this place is old and dying. It shows us over 20 areas with unique yet thematically linked visual art direction. Along those lines, Hollow Knight does not seek to instill the same emotions in the player in each area. There are areas which are downright terrifying. The Colosseum of Fools focuses on a trial of combat with a raucous crowd raging in decadence. The Abyss writhes and attacks, and we sense our own mortality and dark birthplace. Then you sit on a bench and take a breath. The rain falls outside, and we realize we're just a little guy having a sit down. Then we fall 7,000 feet into a hot spring and experience a Resident Evil 4 save room-esque moment of, can I just stay in here forever?
Got something that might interest you.
Special shout out to the backgrounds in this game. There is a ludicrous amount of care and detail put into the background of nearly every screen. Coupled with the choice to use parallax scrolling, which sees different 2D layers moving at different speeds, creating a sense of depth to this flat world that really brings it to life. And can I once again point out, this was primarily a two-person team creating this world? Absolutely absurd. Ari Gibson hand-drew most of the assets in this game, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think he may have hand-drawn all of them. I will never complain about the work I put into a video ever again, and that is probably not true. Character and enemy designs are simple enough to pass the silhouette test, while still being rich enough in meaningful detail. The Knight is an archetypical video game protagonist, aka he would make a sick tattoo on your lower leg, and you should probably get one. Hornet may even be a better design, but again, that's a topic for another video in due time. Pillar 3, Sense of Exploration. I'm gonna pull the Metroid card one more time. My first time playing Metroid, I didn't want to schlep my ass to our dial-up modem and open AOL Instant Messenger and text my crush and regret texting my crush and have my mom yell at me for tying up the phone lines just to look up where to go next. And that experience was extremely frustrating. I frequently had no idea where to go and no breadcrumbs to guide me in the right direction. In Hollow Knight, there were certainly moments where I got stuck, where I beat a boss or got to the end of an area with no obvious path forward and simply did not know where to go. But I can't recall ever getting frustrated because each corner of the map with an unexplored area off screen and each new movement ability made me naturally want to retread areas and push the boundaries to see what I missed. I didn't even consider that you could swim in the acid, but I kept exploring after beating Dung Defender and found Isma's Tear. Those moments when you find a movement ability like the Shade Cloak and remember 10 hours of gameplay earlier running into those black barriers in Fog Canyon are something truly special. Simply put, every corner of the map feels like it's worth exploring. This is so rarely the case in games this size. There also exists a sense of dread and excitement pushing a bit farther away from familiar territory, and I'm gonna be that guy. It reminds me of Dark Souls, particularly Dark Souls 1, which did such a great job instilling a meaningful sense of feeling lost and then that sense of relief on finally finding a bonfire, or in this case, a bench to rest and regroup. This is basically the anti-Ubisoft experience. The game doesn't hold your hand and gatekeep arbitrarily. There are no map markers or GPS system in Hollow Knight, just your compass and a dream. And when you do find a new area, and the music swells, and that text pops up on screen, there's really nothing else like it. Pillar 4. Living Characters. It would have been so easy for the characters in Hollow Knight to be one note. Downtrodden, warrior bugs, trudging through a decaying land full of corpses. Yet each character feels not only unique, but complete. Even our own character, whose name is not actually Pink Floyd or Leonard Skinner, but instead simply the Knight, has a complexity in their backstory that is not immediately apparent. Much like all of your mothers, the Knight was born in the Abyss. Unlike any of your mothers, they managed to escape. In my favorite ending, the Knight chooses to sacrifice himself and fight against the Radiance, herself a thematic opposition to the void from which said mothers and knights once came. She is the heart of the infection, and the Knight can choose to send himself, his siblings, and the Radiance all to eternal darkness and save Hallownest from the infection that plagues her. There is more personality in the blank slate of the Knight and the actions they take without uttering a word than most video game protagonists. But what about those who do? Cloth is a wandering warrior of Hallownest. She fears that she will die a cowardly death and deeply wishes to prove herself in battle. We first meet Cloth in the fungal wastes taking a nap. She is there to test her valor against the great mantis lords below. We find her cowering in fear in the ancient basin, again buried underground avoiding some nasty enemies. Yet she continues her quest, pushing on to find the mantis traders in the Queen's Gardens. As the Knight battles with the Trader Lord, Cloth leaps in, finally unleashing her bravery and her fury. And with our help, she succeeds in killing the Trader Lord, though falls in the battle, fulfilling her deepest wish to die an honorable warrior's death. Quirrell is what I would consider the friendliest NPC in the game. He's just a little dude trying to make his way with a cute little mask for a hat. Turns out, that mask is the mask of Manamon, one of the dreamers we later learn are responsible for sealing the entrance to the Temple of the Black Egg, therefore sealing away the Hollow Knight, therefore sealing away the Radiance. And if I'm wrong about that, my bad. Like many characters in Hollow Knight, Quirrell is the last of his kind, a pilgrim with little memory of his past. Unlike many characters in Hollow Knight, he is cheerful and warm. We find him scattered throughout the map, slowly remembering who he is. Later in the game, we meet Quirrell in the Dream of Manamon, where he helps us to defeat Umu, admitting the return of his memories and completing his redemption arc, making up for his role in the sealing of the vessel for who knows how long. After Manamon is killed, we see Quirrell resting at the Blue Lake, no longer wearing his signature mask, and he tells us, "Again we meet, my short friend. Here at last I feel at peace. Twice I've seen this world, and though my service may have stripped the first experience from me, I'm thankful I could witness its beauty again." Hornet, Zote, Tiso, and mostly Salubra all deserve their own sections, but I'll leave it there for now. Suffice it to say that the inhabitants of Hallownest add a depth of character to the world that cannot be replaced by lore tomes and environmental design. It is the combination of all of these elements that make Hollow Knight truly greater than the sum of its parts. Pillar 5, Combat and Bosses. Join me for a moment as we get off our highfalutin high horses and our pedestals and our hoity-toity tookuses, and let's just talk about some real shit. The bosses and the overall combat of this game are just so good. They're so good. I talked about this in Movement already, but the floor for understanding Hollow Knight's combat is so low, and the ceiling for mastering its combat is so high. That allows for Team Cherry to gradually ramp up the insanity meter from introductory bosses like False Knight and Gruesmother to mid-game classics like Mantis Lords and Soulmaster, all the way to post-game lunacy like Absolute Radiance. And they all work perfectly for the same combat mechanics. Your character and gear get stronger, but it's not as if you're playing a different game. It builds so organically along with the difficulty. My favorite base game boss is the Mantis Lords. The music, the tone, the lore of them simply wanting to test your prowess in battle are all top tier. But the true joy comes in the flow and the deadly dance. There is no downtime in this fight for a skilled player. Every attack is dangerous, but every attack is punishable. There is a rhythm to the fight that is just entrancing. To me, every boss doesn't need to be impossibly difficult to be a true joy to experience. In Hollow Knight, the easy and the difficult bosses are both engaging. Then there are the Sisters of Battle. I mean, just look at this shit. That's my analysis. Just look at that shit. The level of mechanical precision is only possible due to a few factors. First, complete player control of inputs and positioning in real time. Second, beautifully rendered character sprites that are legible even in the most hectic of situations. Third, fair and telegraphed, but not too telegraphed, movesets. There are no camera bosses in this game like you might experience in a Souls game. It's just you, a screen, and some sort of demon bug situation that you need to navigate. And to do so, the game solves the issue of balance and build variety by tethering the player to a needle and a few magic moves, but with the creativity and optionality of charms. Now, I haven't talked about charm builds yet, because I'm gonna be real. I'm a strength build guy. I'm a melee build guy. I'm a moron who genuinely forgets that magic exists in the game. My stupidity aside, charms offer legitimate options for creative player builds that appreciably change combat. Glass cannon builds? Absolutely. Survivability builds? Yes ma'am. Soul-sucking mage builds? If you're a coward. Wayward Compass, Gathering Swarm, and Steady Body? Correct. There is also the closed-loop combat system for healing and magic damage. Soul. Needing to hit enemies with your needle in order to accumulate the de facto currency for healing and magic is brilliant. You can't farm heals or stock up on supplies before a fight. You can't fire off that vengeful spirit if you need your soul for healing. Each action in Hollow Knight has a risk-reward decision baked in, and the game is built around the action of combat rather than a waiting game. Pillar 6, bonus pillar, music. I'm not gonna lie, I had this as an honorable mention at first because I really didn't want all my videos to just be me talking about the music and games that I love. Then I realized, 1, fuck that, and 2, I had more to say about the music than just about anything else, and that decision made itself. If you've seen my other stuff in the Making the Case series, you know how important music is to me already. Hollow Knight's music was conducted by Christopher Larkin, somehow also Australian for some reason. Larkin studied music composition at the Elder Conservatorium of Music at the University of Adelaide, every word of which sounds extremely fake. Though the music for Hollow Knight is anything but fake, on the contrary, it's as real as it gets. And the music isn't just great on its own, it actively adds to the atmosphere in each new area, turns great boss battles into spectacles, and helps enrich the story elements of the game overall. Larkin gives the world of Hollow Knight a singular, recognizable identity and soul through the score. It provides an emotional anchor to the player and a through line from the melancholic tones of Dirtmouth to the euphoric grandeur of Absolute Radiance. Entering the City of Tears for the first time is one of those moments that cannot be described and must be experienced. It isn't just the serenity and the haunting beauty. It is the sudden shift from the claustrophobic dungeon crawler you have been through to get to this point, and a reminder of the depth and complexity of the living world of Hallownest. As we enter the ancient city, watching the rain drip from the blue lake above, the music swells with a mournful cello and those ethereal vocals. Just a perfect moment. path feels like home to me. The music is comfortable, reassuring, yet has that extra layer of beauty to add some necessary gravity to what could otherwise be a stale experience. The woodwinds flutter, mimicking the rustling of leaves and the relatively docile inhabitants therein. Subjectivity alert, Soul Sanctum is my favorite track. The cold opening, the droning organ, the swelling and crashing chords, it's just perfect to me. And again, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. The tone of boreal beauty hints at genius and obsession, seeking hidden and forbidden knowledge. To this day, it remains wild to me how much care and attention was poured into this indie game about warrior bugs, and Larkin's score is a beautiful example of that. Of course, this game is not without its bangers. Mantis Lords and Broken Vessel deserve some credit, but Sealed Vessel stands out to me. The horror trills of the strings, breaking out into the pounding, pulsing, orchestral grandeur. Then we feel the restraint and the beauty creeping back in as we realize this is not just an epic battle for the soul of Hallownest. It is a tragedy between two fate-stricken vessels. Then we shift back to the motif from Enter Hallownest, subconsciously rushing the player's memory back to the beginning of their journey. Larkin's score doesn't add to the game, it isn't a nice compliment to the game. To me, his score is the backbone of the game, which makes every magical moment therein mean that much more.